Hello again, and welcome back to Rudy's 1/6 World for another new figure showcase, where we'll take a quick look at the newest edition of my collection. And today we'll be looking at what could be the last Black Widow we'll be getting based on Scarlett Johansson's portrayal of that character. And she's coming in the snowsuit version from the Black Widow solo movie. So I just reviewed what I'm going to call the classic version that Hot Toys released from the movie. So we're going to be hitting some of the same beats here, but I'll still do a quick recap in case you didn't see that other video. And I've mentioned it before. I agree with a lot of issues fans have raised regarding the quality of Phase 4. Overall, I still found it to be fairly enjoyable, which is why I'm still buying these figures, right? But I'm not blind to those issues. Where I will disagree is with this movie. I just personally didn't get the hate. I think it's a solid movie and closer to the top releases we've gotten from Marvel as opposed to the lower tiered movies. So I really liked it, and it was Black Widow's swan song. And it's just a shame we couldn't get this before Endgame. I feel like there could have been a great opportunity to explore the political thriller genre with a character like her. And I could have seen her having a great trilogy more in line with The Winter Soldier. But I thought it was a great send-off that introduced us to some amazing characters we'll hopefully continue to see in the MCU. So with that intro out of the way, let's look at the figure and the overall package we're getting. And first, I'll say I really was excited to get this alternate version of Widow with the white suit. The black suit is iconic, of course, but the white suit was what made this figure so appealing. And like with the White Vision or the So-So Kingpin in his white suit, those figures do tend to stand out a little bit, and at first glance, this version of Widow is no different. As far as accessories, she includes the standard Hot Toys base, which the figure doesn't really need because she stands well on her own, and then a slew of weapons and interchangeable hands. And if you have that classic version, these accessories are all identical with maybe some minor differences here and there. So let's jump into those, and let's start with her guns. And she comes with a total of 3, 2 of which are identical, and those seem to be smaller Glocks that fit nicely into her drop-down thigh holsters. They both have removable clips and working slides with a spring. Second gun is more unique with a laser sight affixed to the bottom rail of the gun and a red dot sight mounted on the top. Also has a spring-loaded slide and a removable clip. I will say the paint app on these is better, I think, than the classic release. They're identical weapons, but I think they did improve the paint job a little bit. And the clips tend to stay in the gun a little better, so that's a big positive. Guns aren't on par with what we see with military figures, but they're good. Next up, we get her batons, and the first set are the more standard straight versions with some great detail work along the handles, replicating the rubber grip-like material with nice chrome paint apps at the top and bottom of the grip. And that's coupled with really nice details for the rest of the baton along the length with the nice dark gray components and the black and orange elements. And ultimately in the movie, these transform to the articulated versions, which we'll look at next. So Hot Toys did give us those alternate articulated batons, and they look really nice and have that same level of paint work and top-notch detailing that the straight pieces come with. Here, the tips included like with the classic are the blades, which are really nicely done, and in addition, you do get those additional tips to revert back to the base option, which you can swap out. Finally, you do get a bunch of interchangeable hands, and these are really nicely done with a lot of great detail work with the fingernails even having some nail polish that's pretty evident. So I think the detailing there is really nice, which I think is also amazing at this scale. And what I also like is that the white gloves aren't pristine. They're actually pretty weathered and a little dirty. So again, gives the impression that this Widow has seen some action. So really nice effect there. Next up, let's move to the sculpt, which is, I think, the key component here. And look, I love the sculpt that came with the classic release, and I think it's pretty much the same sculpt, although maybe it's the paint application, but it almost looks like the new snowsuit version has a slightly different expression. It's a subtle difference, and I'll pose the two figures together later on to compare. But going back to the sculpt itself, it looks amazing. At least I think it does. Big difference here is really the hairstyle, and she looks great. I like the detail work we're getting on the hair and the way the hair falls. So I'm a huge fan of the appearance. The one issue with the longer hair is posability, but we'll discuss that later on as well. So overall, I think she looks amazing, and Hot Toys always kills it with the work on the eyes in particular. So I'm definitely blown away by that portion of the sculpt. Now, looking at her suit, it looks amazing, and again, it's very similar in terms of tailoring to the classic black suit, but there are subtle differences with the silver lines and just the overall look. So, looks great, and I like the small details here, like the collar, and on the shoulder armor, she has red elements that almost look like some lights, so you get a nice color element to help her pop. In addition, the suit isn't completely white, with some nice grays and also some weathering paint apps along the seams, so it helps the overall look of the figure. Unlike the original release in the black suit, the backpack here is only attached with shoulder straps, so you don't get the cross strap across her chest. So it's nice in that, one, it's a faithful recreation of what we saw on screen, and two, it's different beyond just a color variant. The weathering also extends down to the boots, which aren't a pure white, instead being a really dirty gray, so that again gives you a nice color variation that breaks up the pure white of the suit. And it has some really nice details. I also do appreciate that the backpack straps and shoulder guards straps and her belt and holster are all plastic-like material or fabric. Looks good, and we don't have to worry about pleather deterioration. So where do I land on this figure, especially considering how highly I rated the black suit version? The answer is I like both, but I think this is the better release. I think the sculpt here with the long hair just looks better. And lump that in with all the positives from the original release, and this figure is just better overall. I think that's just ultimately where I land. Now, we have to talk about the sculpted hair, because while I do like the way she looks, and I tend to prefer sculpted over rooted, my immediate concern here was you won't be able to pose her in any way other than looking straight ahead. And that's partly true if you keep the baton handles on her pack, because they essentially lock the head in place, sticking out through certain openings in the hair sculpt. But if you remove them, the story changes. You can actually get her posed in really nice ways, and I'm going to give Hot Toys credit here. I'm guessing they kind of looked at this, because the way they sculpted the hair, it fits well if you turn her head in either direction. You don't get any crazy gaps that seem unnatural, and I think with the sculpted hair, that's a huge accomplishment. The hair also does benefit from being a softer plastic, so you can manipulate it a little bit, but that was a welcome surprise to be able to actually pose her in different ways. And as far as posability, the underbody's great. You really can get a lot of flexibility out of her arms. Her legs are a little bit more restrictive, but you can still take advantage of those double joints. I will say the knee joints here do look a little bit awkward from the side, and I think it's just the nature of the joint with the tight suit. Is it a huge negative? Not really. I don't think you'll notice unless you're purposely looking for it, and if you do pose her a little bit, I think you'll probably avoid the issue altogether. And that's where I really do like this figure. She can be super dynamic, but she can also hold some more subtle, natural poses and still look incredible. So you're kind of getting the best of both worlds here, if you're a dynamic poser or if you like more museum stances. The only other slight negative, and I feel like at this point I'm becoming a broken record, it's the wrist pegs. They're good and sturdy, which is good. It's a good thing when you consider the amount of force you have to use to get the hands off the pegs. Everything fits well together, but it just feels like a break waiting to happen. And it's more annoying than anything else. Sometimes you have to use pliers to get them out. It's just a hassle. I would almost prefer pegs like the ones Exo 6 is providing, which are just rod-like elements that don't lock in place. Still allows for posing, but you don't have to worry about locking the hand in. And look, in this day and age of innovation, I will give credit to InArt on their first release with the magnetic swapping of hands, since it does eliminate the issues I'm having. Just a nice evolution that would be nice to see other companies, tack on and see if we could do something alternate to the standard peg. The other nitpick here are the accessories. She comes with identical accessories to the black suited version, and they're great, don't get me wrong, but this is where I feel that Hot Toys could have thrown in something extra in to really differentiate the figure from the other ones. And the missed opportunity, I think, might have been an added rifle. Now, in some of the pics, I did take an easy and simple rifle and had Widow pose with it, and I think it looks incredible. Plus, it also shows the posability of the figure. But I think she looks incredible with that weapon. In the movie, there's a brief moment during the scene where they're breaking Red Guardian out of jail, where she picks up an AA-12 automatic shotgun. It's brief, but it's a nice weapon, and it goes with the snowsuit. This is the same rifle that Hot Toys has already done with Royce from Predators. So they already did that version. They have a mold. They just needed to take that mold, maybe modify it slightly, and give us a black version of the rifle, and bam, immediately sets the figure apart. And I think if the shots of her with the rifle are anything to go from, she would have looked amazing holding that weapon. So I think it's a missed opportunity, and for me, it will be a piece I'll try to pick up in 6-scale format to give her. I think COO Models made a version, but I already took a quick look and it seems to be sold out everywhere. So if any of you have some leads on where I might be able to track that down, it would be greatly appreciated. But I think overall some of these are nitpicks, and it doesn't detract from how good the figure looks and the quality feel of it in hand. It's again a figure I didn't expect to be super excited for, and yet as I was posing her and thinking of options and potential poses, she really became a lot of fun. So I think that's always a great sign as a collector, and I think she'll be a figure I keep on going back to now and then to repose. And if this is the last Black Widow figure we get, I will say I think Hot Toys went out with a bang and really gave us one of, if not my personal favorites of the Black Widows to date. One other quick tidbit in closing, you can swap the head sculpts between both figures. So if you prefer having the longer hair version with the classic black suit, you could really customize and come up with the best version of Black Widow for yourself. I personally think I like the snowsuit with the long hair, so I won't swap out the sculpts, but just food for thought. So that was a quick look at Black Widow from her solo movie in her snowsuit, and I'm impressed and extremely happy with this pickup, and I actually do think she'll end up standing out amongst all the Widows I already have in the collection. So, what do you think of this version of the character, and do you think this figure closes the book on Black Widow figures? Let me know, and as always, thank you for watching, and if you are enjoying some of these reviews or some of my breaking news first thoughts videos, please go ahead and like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll touch base on the next one.